We are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is PCar Talk. All right, welcome to another episode of PCar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm Aaron.
We are back at the studio. First of all, I want to thank JRZ for our sponsorship with them. I got a notification. Chris told me that the coilovers are being built as we speak.
Yeah, they have like a live webcam where you like,
where you get that
stage 2.
Yeah,
we're almost there.
Yeah, now get the updates via email. No, it's not like that. It would be nice, right? Like the camera following it. Like,
what are you doing?
Yeah. Where are you going? You going on break? No. But he said usually 3 to 4 weeks lead time once that starts. So hopefully sometime in April we'll be doing install. You guys will get video on that hopefully, and then we'll also do a review of the car again, just like a shorter review of kind of what that's like and what that's feels like with the JRZ stuff on it, and obviously throw the JRZ tag on that thing as the headliner of that episode.
Yeah,
so
that.
that'll look awesome. But if you don't know what JRZ is, essentially they are a suspension company. They do off-road suspension, they do race-ready suspension, and they do street suspension. So basically, if you want the cream of the crop...
All suspensions.
Yeah, they are pretty much top dog. Fair warning, obviously they're not the cheapest, but you pay for what you get for it.
But they're not the cheapest.
Yeah. There's a reason why they're not the cheapest, and it's not about price, right? Like if you guys know, you guys are Porsche listeners, you guys are driving Porsche products not because they're cheap. So enough said about that, right? So let's get moving. A lot of stuff to talk about, some really, really interesting stuff to talk about. We're going to go ahead and, we'll go ahead and lead off with this one. Porsche has asked Singer to pull the ACS Safari off of Singer's website due to possibility of leading customers into believing this is a Porsche product due to the side molding of this ACS where it's engraved into the car where it says Porsche. It's not like a decal. It's like in it, in the carbon fiber. That's Porsche's reasoning for it, at least is what they're saying. I find this to be very, very interesting. Let's go a little bit of backstory for the listeners on this. When Singer originally first came out...
Yep. G-bodies, first two.
Yeah, they had a little bit of battle with Porsche to begin with when they started their product too.
Yeah,
if you don't know, the reason behind it is it says reimagined by Singer because it didn't originally go with that theme, because it just was a Porsche Singer at that point, and Porsche was saying, well, that's too close to our product, because essentially
were still there too. That was one of the things. And then I think they actually had to, even though it said reimagined, it was they had to resize that.
Yeah, it was the sizing of it. They actually wanted it smaller because the badging was kind of big, and Porsche had to approve all that. So again, it was just all of the mothership having to approve Singer to begin with when it was going through, when they first came out with their first car, saying, hey, pretty much that's our car. We get it that you're doing your own thing as it, but you're selling them, under the Porsche line.
That like the price factor plays into part of that. Like dollar figures. I mean, it's a pretty high dollar item either way. And then those Safari cars, or actually, they're Baja
Here's
cars.
what I think it is. Here's what I really think it is. There's many people that do cars reimagined and sell them on whatever platform or even on their own website and do recreations. There's lots of them that will go unnamed, but if you're in the know and you've been looking, there's lots of places that have come and gone and some are still around, that maybe do like a backdate on a car, or they do their own restorations and they bring the car back to life and then they resell the cars and all this stuff. I think the difference is Singer doesn't look at itself as a restoration shop, like some of these other places maybe do, and maybe that's why they don't get the stop clause of what you're doing, because they're not trying to basically put their own brand label on an existing product, I guess is what I'm getting at. Now there are some that are still out there that are playing out there, like I said, that will go unnamed. And I think the second factor of this is popularity. And what I mean by that is some of these other places, and not a knock on them, the ones going unnamed, but I think there's a lot of traction behind Singer as a whole.
Yeah.
And they get probably the most press. And if you guys haven't paid attention, this ACS Safari pseudo went viral in the car community world, and being combined with Tuthill and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of press behind the car. So I think there's that factor behind it too, and maybe Porsche's cooking something on their own.
Well, I mean, they have a few things we've seen out there. I mean, those.
Yeah, we're speculating. They have some stuff that they're testing, but nothing's confirmed. They haven't confirmed that they're building a safari car yet.
But we definitely seen them, like, because there's some stuff that's been out in the snow, out in Lapland. And
but
stuff
that's not a new product. They've done that with a 997 gen before too, and they never put it into play. They've played with this stuff before, so nothing official from Porsche. However, like that's just my conspiracy theory behind that. Not the whole thing, but just that little part that I just added right there. Maybe they're cooking something, the third layer of that. But the first two layers are definitely accurate. It got a lot of press, and singers always do. So Porsche definitely was like, hey, here's the deal. I think it's kind of a funny response to say, like, where it might get confused as a Porsche product, because it clearly is not a Porsche product, and they don't try to say it's a Porsche product. So I think it's kind of strange, I guess, for Porsche to say that it'll get confused as a Porsche product.
And unless they have something that's coming out that's going to be similar to it that we don't know about. I mean,
yeah, and that's possible. But I'm saying, like, from what's at first to market right now, what's available right now, like, there's no confusion by this, because Tuthill and Singer never go and say this is a Porsche product. Nowhere on their website does it ever masquerade as a Porsche product. They never say that this is coming from Porsche AG or the manufacturers or any of that kind of stuff. And I almost feel like everybody in the automotive world knows what Singer is by now. And Singer's its own thing. It's already been kind of blessed by Porsche to do its own thing.
I saw something like, I mean, the other thing would be, since the Cross Turismo is out,
maybe
just go ahead and apply that to the first electric 911, and it's a throwback to the 959. Does everything. Well,
we're not privy to all the inside information, right? Like, and as we know, like, things can get petty behind closed doors, regardless of. And I'm not accusing Porsche directly. I'm saying they're being petty. I'm just saying anyone in general can be petty.
I mean,
people you don't realize are that can be petty about something so minor, that can be petty about something that you didn't think was a big deal. Maybe this is a thing of, like, well, you didn't kiss the ring, so now we have a problem, like, type of deal. You know what I mean? It's like, why didn't you come and ask us first beforehand? And Singer's probably like, what? So it's kind of one of those things. Maybe, we don't know. Again, just speculation.
But it's not their first rodeo with that anyway. So you would think that they would be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this, this, and this. Or do you think that?
Or maybe they thought the relationship was good enough that it wouldn't even be an issue. Because Porsche has clearly gotten behind what Singer's doing.
Well, I mean, everybody has.
Yeah, I mean, in general. And when I say that, I don't mean like Porsche's parading their cars around, but I'm saying, like, it's an extension of them that they're okay with, it seems like. And a lot of those people travel in a lot of the same circles, because when you get down to the finite engineers and the designers and all these high level type of people, the world's pretty small at that point for these guys, especially in the Porsche world. Yeah. Like, they all know each other. Small, they all, like, move around in the same circles. They all know of each other. They know of all the projects that are usually cooking and all this kind of stuff. What are some of your thoughts on this? Like, is this strange to you? Is this something?
I don't see how you could misconstrue it into being another Porsche product, because it wasn't a virtual launch. Like they do everything else. It doesn't say it doesn't look like a Porsche, but it doesn't look like something they would produce right now. We haven't seen them do any retro, like, builds, except for that 993 Turbo way back in the day for Rennsport. That's the only thing that they've touched. So I don't know how it would get confused with anything.
So let's take this product for a second and say, like, it never had a Porsche badge on it, like where it says Porsche at all on it. Then would it even be a factor then? Or now are they going to claim silhouette copyrights because they're going to be like, whoa, you still know it's a Porsche.
Likeness.
Yeah.
I think they can still call it, but I think it breathes life into the conspiracy theory like you have. What are they doing behind the scenes? What are they really going to release that would make this a big
Or maybe
deal?
they just feel like they need to protect their intellectual property. Maybe it's just a flex.
Like, hey,
because they have flex on people before. Maybe it's just a flex, and I can respect that, to be honest with you, because I mean, their brand, they're printing money.
Yeah, that's
so maybe, but I don't see how this would like detriment it. But maybe it's one of those, and I hate this because it's a very corporate or a very governmental way to do it, or any of these, whatever terminology you want to use with it. But it's one of those like, well, if we let you do it, we got to let everybody do it. So we got to hammer you too, because we're going to hammer everybody else. Maybe it's that too. Maybe it's like, yes, we know you're a singer. Yes, we're cool with you, but we can't give you a pass and not give all these other people a pass.
And it would be, and they're big enough that everybody would notice or see that it's happening. So,
but again, I don't even think this wasn't even a conversation piece.
Yeah.
This isn't like, when I saw this car, I was like, I wonder what Porsche thinks about that. That's the last thing that came to my mind.
Like, whoa, I can't believe Singer paired up with Tuthill.
Maybe the PCA fuddy-duddies maybe thought of something like that, but like, I don't know anybody within our immediate circle group that even had a fathom of that.
But then, too, are they even going to build a Porsche? I mean, Singer's got DLSs somewhere.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. Like, just because they come out with it, and they've said this is a car.
Another thing I don't understand too is, and I would love to hear maybe an in-depth thing, maybe when all this gets settled and worked out. Obviously, no one's gonna throw any jabs to start with, because everybody wants to be kosher with each other to begin with on this, on both sides. I'm assuming they asked them to pull it down. They did pull it down. However, this doesn't just go back to free market type stuff. Like, they took a car and the chassis is not the same, the wheel length base is not the same. Like, yes, it has remnants of Porsche stuff, but this is full custom build. Like, at the end of the day, this is a client build for somebody that they built for their client. Yes, they are giving the opportunity for some of their other clients to purchase this vehicle. What's the difference between them doing that as opposed to you and I taking my 964 and backdating it, putting a bunch of Porsche badges on it or whatever it's already on it, or race livery that's already on it, whatever you want to name it, turn around, putting it on a website for sale and selling it under a company name? What's the difference? Am I not allowed to do that now? It's free market, is it not?
I just think of like those not for resale type things.
I know, but what I'm saying is people are doing it.
Yeah.
It's my car. Essentially, I'm selling you a used car that I did stuff to. That's, if you want to break it down to what it really is. This was a used chassis that they put all of these upgrades on, that they're selling it to this customer for, or built it for that customer, and any future clients or customers would be doing the same thing. So why is this an issue?
That is the crux of the argument. I don't know. I guess if they didn't, like you said, if they didn't have anything that said Porsche nowhere on there, maybe that's even less of a strike at them where they would want to pursue it.
Yeah. So does this come like dealer option? Like, okay, there's no badges on this car, but here are all the decals. Yeah. The minute you take it home, you can install them.
Yeah, if you would like to do this, just fine. Go ahead. Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out.
I almost feel like we're just picking threads with this one.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, anybody else.
And again, I don't have all the information, to be fair. And I'm not trying to say that, Porsche's the big bad guy. Like, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying curious. To have I'm coming from a place of curious, another corporate, like,
curiosity.
Yeah, I'm coming from a place of curious. I'm not accusing of anyone anything. I just want to know what's going on here. But I'm saying it sounds odd. It seems strange. But I also know that Porsche is very, very protective of their intellectual property, which I totally understand. However, they already had a working relationship with Singer, so this seems a little different. This isn't like a total, this is under the arm of Singer. You think maybe because Tuthill's involved?
Well, that's what I kind of thought that from maybe they're involving more people, and then I don't know. Is Tuthill anything official with Porsche? I mean, I thought they have
He's got a huge shop.
Yeah, that's what
that he does his own thing with.
Well, yeah, and Tuthill was the he's the car rally or the East African rally.
Yeah, he does that.
He's the big guy who does all that stuff.
But he does that. That's his thing. it's just interesting, right?
Yeah, it is. I think it's just a lot of people, a lot of things in motion, and then they'll do their own thing.
This will get hashed out regardless, because the people who want these things, they're still going to get one. I'm sure it just adds to the Safari mystique of now you want one, you can't have one. Maybe
like that,
price tag goes up even more.
Well, TJ Russell's going to be like, yep.
Yeah.
Here you go, guys.
Yeah, but I guess, and not to throw anybody else under the bus, but it's just kind of one of those things. It's like, why are other people allowed to build Safaris and put things on them? Maybe because it doesn't have a Porsche tag, but it still has a Porsche emblem on the hood on some of these other Safaris when they leave that place and they're being resold and modified. And why is that okay?
I think it comes down to making it out of a business and how much they're actually making on the cars.
I think it just goes straight down to popularity. I don't think it has anything about dollars, because Porsche's not losing any money by this. Trust me, they're making tons of it as we speak. I mean, as the seconds count, dollars are rolling in the bank account for them. I don't think it has. I think it has everything to do with press, to be honest with you. I think popularity.
No, they're getting it both ways. They got it whenever they launch the car, and they're getting it now because they're shutting it down. So
yeah, they're getting double press, right? Even to say like
Porsche's winning.
Negative press is still like a good thing, and like maybe this is a way Porsche's like attaching themselves to this, right? Like, hey, it's part of our product too. I don't know. I go back to free market, right? Like I'm just going to close with, they never masqueraded this car as a Porsche product, so I really don't understand that part of it. But I understand maybe where Porsche's trying to come with intellectual property. Hopefully there'll be more information that comes out for all of us to hear how this thing comes out, so cooler heads will prevail on this thing, and then maybe this thing will still get made the way it's supposed to for the really affluent clients that want to buy this thing from Singer/Tuthill on this project.
I'm sure the ones that are made have already sold. Like the two that they have.
Yeah, well, somebody already owns that one that they're testing. But what I'm saying is, like, any of the potential clients that have the means that want to buy this, and I know I'm sure a lot of the listeners feels really bad for those people to be able to afford this car and they can't get one. But
so what I'm saying is, they didn't talk about the tarmac version, right? It was just the Safari.
It just said the ACS. Yeah, it didn't say anything about that. I'm sure it could be both. I mean, who knows, man? Like, this thing just broke yesterday, and there isn't a lot of information other than they were asked to pull it down. Porsche made a statement of why they needed to pull it down, and basically Singer complied. They didn't want to cause any issues with that, and then I'm sure more to follow on that. Okay. But enough on that topic. So new development regarding the club as well. This is something new that Aaron and I were talking about back and forth for a long time, and we actually debated this for a really, really long time. Did we want to let the club be open to whoever wants to be in it as far as like numbers wise go? And we've come to a number that we've decided, because we're close to like around 90 members right now. We're closing the door at 100, and what that means in detail is once we hit 100, we're not taking on any new members, PCar Club members. Now, with that being said, there'll be a waiting list. So if somebody doesn't renew, then you'll be contacted to come back in. Now, it's not from a place of trying to like shut people out or anything like that. The doors have been wide open for almost 2 years on the membership now, and we've only gotten up to 90 is what I'm getting at. Yeah. So we've pretty much got to our threshold anyhow. So from a management standpoint, we want to kind of just keep it that way. If it starts to blow up and we get a really long waiting list, we'll revisit it at that point, and we'll send maybe a newsletter out to all the other 100 existing members if they want to keep it that way. Do they feel comfortable with bringing in more membership? But we want to keep a tight-knit group, because eventually what we're already doing is a drive in the East Coast. It'd be nice to do maybe, wherever. That way we can hone in where all our membership is at. Help us kind of like get our details together of, okay, majority of our memberships live in this geographical area. Maybe we should do a drive in this geographical area. Like, it'll help narrow down where our membership is if we have a closed door at 100. So, again, to reiterate, what's going to happen with that is we're going to close the door at 100 once we meet 100 members. If you're still interested, we would just put you on a waiting list. All of existing members will always get an opportunity to renew. If they don't renew at that point, then you will be outcasted back out for everybody else. Like, you will have to get back on a waiting list at that point.
It's like the Corral Pass at Daytona.
Yeah, exactly.
Or anywhere else.
So first right of refusal if you're already in. And every year that you renew, you just get to stay in, and you keep getting all the benefits and the longevity of our club membership and things like that. So we just wanted to make that announcement to everybody so everybody could hear that part, instead of us just kind of posting on Instagram, because some people will miss it on Instagram. I believe Aaron is also going to send a newsletter out to all the existing members, correct? Sure. To let them know. Yep. Because there are people that don't listen. True. I'm just saying. Like, we want to get the word out to those same guys, so we don't get that, well, I didn't know, bro. Like, what? I would have renewed if I would have known it was like that. But, and again, remember, being part of that 100 is going to get you into that club drive every year, which is very important.
More club drives if we do more than one.
Exactly. And that's a goal, to do more of those in the future. So hopefully that'll happen. So that's that. Next topic. You're listening to this, it's Thursday. Yep. Friday, we're going to pick up my Safari's finally done. Yay, on Safari Talk. Like how that ties that together. Like, we're professional, right? Like, so we are actually. We just take it super chill, but we prep everything. But in all seriousness, going to pick up that in Savannah. Really excited about that. So we're going to livery it up there. So it's not going to live very long without its livery, in my possession at least. We'll get all that set up. And then... because it is a throwback Brumos livery from '72, if you guys have not been paying attention, you'll see plenty of pictures of it come Instagram, I'm sure, because Aaron will post a lot, I'll post a lot. Saturday we'll be at Brumos, probably doing a photo shoot with Brumos. We've talked to Brandon about that already. Get some shots of it in front of the Brumos sign and around some of their other Brumos cars, because it'll have that Brumos throwback livery on it. So that'll be kind of some neat historic pictures to put in the car's photo album for the future of it. I'm excited to see it in the sense of the Safari craze is hot right now, as we know, if you haven't been paying attention to everything out there. Any of them that have gone for sale or anything like that is like some crazy high.
At least you test drove it before you had it Safari, so now you know what it feels. Now you're going to know the big difference between the two styles.
Yeah, exactly. And it's and to give reference for everybody that's listening, I know we've talked about it briefly about what it is, so I'll talk about the actual like raw data of what the car is.
It's a roof car.
Yeah, right. It's an actual Yellowbird that we've Safari. No, in all seriousness, it's a '76 3-liter Euro Carrera, so it's an actual Carrera car. If you don't know the significance behind that, in '76, I think they made, what did I say the number was, like 1,039 or something like that. That's the number.
According to Google, yeah.
No, it's according to the Porsche raw data. And then between 75 and 77, while they were making the 3-liter Carrera, I think they only made like roughly around 3,000 of them total. So this is one of those cars. It's got a 3-liter VIN. It's a Euro Carrera, original speed yellow car. So it's really rare on that aspect of it. For any of those purists out there, like, oh, you ruined a perfect like legit car, it doesn't have the VIN matching numbers on the motor. It's a VIN matching chassis, but also we didn't do anything to the chassis that can't be undone. It's just bolt-ons. And then the motor was done before I had it. This is one of the reasons why I bought the car. It's a 3-liter punched out to a 3.2. It's got Carrillo rods, Carrillo pistons, PMO carbs on it. I mean, it's a stout car. It was a rebuilt engine right before I got it, rebuilt 915 transmission. So all the drivetrain and all that stuff is gorgeous on it, basically ready to go. And then we put all the goodies on it. So it's a super rare car to begin with, and now it's got a monster motor, and we safaried it. Yeah, we safaried it and put a livery on it. So it's a very unique and special car all on its own. So super excited to have that in the possession and whipping that around. And I plan to daily that car for a while before it gets really, really hot in Florida, which is
now
is coming. It's going to be here very, very, very soon. So I guess I'm going to get to daily it for like 2 weeks, maybe. No, no, but I get up pretty early, so I'll daily it as long as I can bear it, basically. And then interior wise, it's got OMP seats, half cage. It's set up
carpet.
No carpet in it, so it's set up nice. Really, really cool. And then a really cool factor too is to pay homage to like the East African safari and things like that. We did the Stilo headset to put that in there from a recommendation from a friend, and it's got the full gamut on it, so it's going to be really, really cool. And it's got a roof rack and all the good stuff with the spare tire, so full safari effect. Yeah, exactly. Two off-road cars sitting in the driveway, and then 2 race cars in the garage, right? But excited to see about that. So pay attention to your Instagram, pay attention to social media. There'll be a lot of stuff, and I think Aaron and I are going to absolutely do a review video on that car, so that'll be coming out on our YouTube page for you guys to hear and see, right? So let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back with some more Porsche stuff, which is interesting. Also, we have some really, really interesting stuff coming up. All right.
Yep.
Thank you guys listening to PCar Talk so much. We appreciate you guys so much. I can't say that enough. Everything we're doing is trying to bring the community closer together. We definitely appreciate that. Also, when you go onto YouTube, if you could subscribe, maybe pass it along, make a comment. We really appreciate that. Now back to the show. We're back. So Taycan Cross Turismo has been released. Now, the Taycan has done really well. If you did watch the release, we got to see all the awards sitting on the ground for the Taycan that has won. That wasn't a flex. But obviously, we know it's done really well. They've sold all 20,000 units, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that still want more that are in, and they're going to make a lot more. It's not, that was just kind of like the initial, as we talked about before, they had their gazillion-dollar e-factory they ended up building for all these particular cars are going to pump out, so they need to make that money back. So believe me, we're going to see a gazillion of these here in the coming years. But I want to talk about the Cross Turismo here with the Taycan. How well do you think this thing's going to do? Do you think it's going to do just as good as the sedan, or do you think this is going to, like typical American thing, maybe better in other countries, not so good here? Because there's some type of stigma here in the U.S. around station wagon. It feels like everybody, it's like the boogeyman or something. Like everybody's afraid of it. It's like, oh, that's looks like my grandpa's car.
I think it's going to do well just because, I mean, like you said, not only do they put money in the factory, but they put money just in that launch. That launch has been one of the better launches that they've done as far as production value. It wasn't dubbed in English. It was a little different from what they normally do. They knew that they were appealing to the broad audience, selling it. Right now, it's I guess the best SUV you could buy that's not an SUV. That's all electric.
Yeah, EV SUV essentially, right?
And it does everything. And
it's quick still.
Yeah, and it's real quick. I mean, still 2.9 0 to 62.
Yeah,
and it's more. There's more of it.
So I guess your short answer is yes, it's going to do well.
I think it's going to do well. I mean, and if it doesn't, then we won't see it. It'll be like everything else that's a wagon and that's produced in Europe.
Yeah, I guess for them, it'll be, well, the nice part about this, right, like it's all on that skateboard platform, so it's just about putting a different shell on the car. If people don't want that, meaning in the U.S., they'll just keep selling the sedan.
Yeah, it's not even being really launched.
Do you think it'll ever get into that situation, though, in the U.S. where it's not available? You know, there's a lot of Euro manufacturers say, like, well, we're not even going to sell it to you guys.
Yeah, but the only counter to that would be that there's now an RS6 that's for sale in the States.
Yeah, but I just meant, like, I'm referring to the skateboard platform, since it's easier for them to do that now where they're not necessarily making an entirely new car. Do you think that availability, even if there's not interest in the U.S., is still going to be available for those select few people that do like essentially a wagon that's pretty rad looking? Or is that still going to get closed off? That's what I meant by that.
I think it should be closed off, and then they should make it an exclusive option. If you if you want your Taycan to be a sport or a Cross Turismo, then it's an exclusive option.
Oh, Jesus.
That's what they should do. They should make it limited. I mean,
what are you interviewing for a job with Porsche right now on this thing?
If they're not going to,
freaking ball tickler, anything. What are you doing over there?
I just don't see them selling a ton here. I don't think they weren't even planning, like when they launch or during the launch they were saying, well, it's going to be available to like look at it in some.
I think I'll challenge you on that. I think they will do well here, and you know why I think they'll do well? Not because of the station wagon, just because it's an EV. I think that's just a whole nother market. There are so many hipsters and all those other people who want to be in an EV, and man, You want to talk about hipster revolution? Like, if you guys have been paying attention, like all of those 70s and 80s Mercedes D wagons
everywhere,
and all in Southern California, if you're 25 years old, that's what they want. They want one of those throwback Mercedes because they want to be able to put that paddleboard in it. They want to do all this other stuff. So it's a diesel. So I'm like, I think this thing could do well. I mean, it's price point wise, it's relatively similar to the Taycan.
Do you think they'll do a base version that's all-wheel drive like the Taycan? I
think they will. I think we're going to see an exact mirror of what model lines.
Well, that's exactly, yeah. I mean, that's what they're doing.
Eventually, I think we'll see a base one of these for $80-something thousand, and yeah.
But you would definitely buy over the Panamera because.
Yeah, and honestly, like, why wouldn't you buy this? If you were, like you said, you made a really great point where I wasn't even thinking about it. It's like kind of like an EV SUV essentially, but it's a sedan. I think the dilemma, which is smart, that they're doing all this stuff early. We'll get into someday when we see the Cayenne EV and all these other actual SUV EVs. How well this will do then will be debatable at that point, because then it'll be like, well, I can just get an SUV. I don't really need to get a wagon or EV. I can just get the SUV EV, and then when those things start to compete inside, I think this one may struggle with sales a little bit. But right now, since it's first to market with its own product line, I think it'll still do well.
I wonder if they'll still keep the entire range of stuff. Like, do you think they're still going to keep a Macan and then a Cayenne and a Taycan and all that? Like, when they have all these that are full EV, is there not
I think they will. I don't think why would they not? I think it's going to be easier for them to actually do it, because we go back to that skateboard platform thing again. Once they build one for each, it's just like throw another chassis on top, put another one on. It's like building a model at home, essentially. Like back in the day, you just throw another car on top of whatever the platform is. I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, if people are going to buy them, why not? The thing within Porsche, I think that they'll still offer this, and we're circling back to what you were saying, that they may close it off. I don't think they will, because let's be honest, the Panamera Cross Turismo does not sell well in the U.S. and it's still, I mean, you're not going to find one on a dealer lot, but you can place an order for one still in the U.S. Like, they haven't shut you down on it. And they're one of the few people other than the Mercedes that you can really buy a wagon. And then you mentioned RS6. That's more of a recent development, but prior to that, there weren't a lot of powerful wagons available. I mean, for good reason, because people aren't buying them. But Porsche, once they developed that, it wasn't of like, okay, hey, because they've been making them for the last 4 or 5 years, and sales haven't been great. They could have easily shut that down and been like, all right, nobody buys these here. It's not even available in this market anymore.
Yeah, and the Sport Turismo is still holding its value. I mean, they're in the 80s. Last time I looked.
I still want one of those someday, really, really badly, and I hope people keep shitting on them so I can steal one for bare minimum.
Yeah, we'll see.
It won't happen though, because it's going to go back to a supply and demand thing, because there's more people like us who's going to want this thing second, third, fourth hand. Speaking of the Panamera right now, even though we've transitioned a little bit, and there's not a lot of them, so then basically whoever has them, they're going to call the prices on the used sales of them, because there isn't a lot of them to choose from. So it's not going to be a situation where, well, we built 100,000 Cayennes. Of course, I'll just find somebody else who has one if you don't want to sell me yours. It's going to be like, all right, there's like 12 of them, and I've got one. Do you want it or not?
Yeah, that will be the case. And the same thing, we'll see how well the Taycans will resell too. That's going to be another market, another secondhand market.
I think they'll do really well secondhand. But again, Porsche's in the business to make money, and they're going to make as many of these as can, because these are meant to be.
So do you think these do
the everyday
5,000 in sales, 10,000 in sales? I mean, if the
Cross Turismo, if they did 20,000, I bet they're gonna make an allocation run for 5,000 and see where it goes from there.
Worldwide, yeah.
And if they get a good response, then maybe they'll bump it. That's kind of what they did with the Taycan. They did like 10,000, and then they added another 10,000. I don't know if people realize that, but they bumped it because so many people did want it. It was actually supposed to be lower than the 20, but they forced it to 20 because people wanted it. So I think this might happen. Maybe they'll do 5,000 if people really, really scream for it. Then
that'd be a lot of wagons.
That'd be great to see, because honestly, you and I go to so many Porsche things, and honestly, not just even Porsche stuff. We just travel a lot of mileage. We're on the road a lot when we are out and moving around. I can't remember the last time, if ever, that we've seen one in motion on the road, that we've caught one in the wild, not being at a Porsche event, like a static display, in the last 4 or 5 years. Speaking of Pan America Cross Turismo.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's the...
Maybe one that I'm forgetting, but it certainly isn't more than 1 or 2.
Yeah, just Taycans in general is probably about the same too. I mean, even those are.
I think I've seen more Taycans than I've seen of those.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And that's even in just the last year.
Yeah, you're right.
Because we were at Rolex, we saw a couple there. We were at DRT, we saw a couple there, and they were different ones. So that's already like at least 4 or 5.
It's already 6 times the amount of wagon. Yeah,
exactly.
And there wasn't a wagon to speak of at DRT.
Nope. So there it is.
So then get a Cross Turismo and enjoy yourself and be different.
And then speaking on all that EV stuff, Porsche has recently bought more claim in Rimac. They've owned 15%. Now that's bumped up to 24%. For those who don't know what Rimac is, they're innovation company. They're a Croatian company that does EV stuff. They do really high tech to get more efficiency, more power, more stuff like that.
That's the car that Richard Hammond crashed.
Yeah, the one he flipped over back when he was on Top Gear. Was that Top Gear or was that actually Grand Tour? I can't remember at this point.
One of the two.
Either way. He flipped this car over, had to get helicopter lifted out, had to have surgery on his leg. Anyways, because it was so powerful, he didn't know what the hell he was doing. It happens.
It's like that one Taycan that didn't get parked. That it went like over the hill,
the launch. Yeah. But anyways, with this, and I kind of want to ask you this. So they've upped their stake in this.
Yep.
Because Porsche's a really good technology company. They have a lot of their own money. They have a lot of their own engineers.
Faster to buy something than it is to innovate it.
And I was going to ask you, they clearly see something in Rimac, right? If they're investing even more money into them. And now, I'm going to drop this bomb on you, and I want to see how you react to this. Do you think, because Porsche's going LMDH racing, they want more stake in Rimac to help them develop the cutting edge stuff for that race car? Is that what this maybe is?
I think they need any edge on the technology front.
Well, of course, I do too. But do you think that's why they're partnering with them so much more?
They're probably using them for Formula E right now, if anything. But then, if their stuff is able to do the supercar level things, if they detune it like some other big brands do, essentially, and then that would just allow their whole platform to be efficient and never die and be performance oriented.
Well, clearly Rimac is building their own EV supercars. They have been. And their numbers are outstanding.
I think they'd be going to them for making whatever the next 918 is. Whatever their next supercar is.
But I think maybe some of that technology goes into their race technology, because we always know that stuff is derived from that stuff. So maybe it starts at race level and then works it back into the street level.
Rimac's not doing any racing though, are they?
No, but just because they're not doing racing doesn't mean their technology doesn't. Like you said, it's cheaper to buy. I mean, they're going to go racing with this at the highest level. They want to overall win. I mean, I'm not saying that they can't develop this technology itself, but like if Rimac's doing it, why not have them assist to develop this? This is where my headspace goes right away. It goes right to racing, because I'm thinking of LMDH right away. I was like, that's coming.
Body on it and then
it's coming right around the corner. You know, we hear all of this stuff. We don't get to hear all the stuff that's happening right away. All the stuff's happening behind closed doors. But who knows what Rimac's doing right now behind closed doors? They were doing that amazing stuff that we just talked about years ago.
I know that Glickenhaus just submitted their LMDH project, which is interesting that Jim's getting into that.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be a lot of rival. It's going to be some good competition for this.
It's going to be. I think
it happens.
I think all of the players that matter are going to compete in this class. And it's going to be another golden age of racing for us to see. But what's really, really going to be beneficial for everybody as a car enthusiast to see, not even just as a race enthusiast, is the derivatives of whatever these cars are racing work their way into a homologated street car is what's really going to be sexy. It's going to be coming in the next several years is what we're going to see of these hyper cars or pseudo hyper cars or ultra hyper cars or whatever the hell they're calling them now. The cars that have like 1,500 horsepower with combined, you know, that can fly to the moon and back basically, and, you know, siphon power from your phone as it goes by or whatever it needs to do, like crazy shit they're doing.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly.
5G.
This Bluetoothing out of your phone for power, like whatever the hell it takes, right? But that's a development I thought people should know about. You know, it doesn't sound like a big number, 24%, but to be 24% stakeholder in another company is actually kind of a big deal.
So we got Bugatti's on board, Glickenhaus is on board, Porsche's doing their thing.
I think Ferrari has committed too. Yeah, because I think I saw that last week actually about their LMDH program. Okay. Yeah, so
I wonder if they
so yeah, that'll be interesting. So let's close with Porsche pandemic pricing because that is a real thing. Yeah. And if you're just listening and you're not shopping and you're not window shopping, let me educate you because there's some wild stuff going on.
I saw this poster. I saw this.
Yeah, there is some really, really wild stuff going on. And what I mean by wild is like pricing on the cars. And I'm not saying I disagree with it. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm middle of the ground with this stuff because if somebody's paying for it, then whatever. Like if you've got the money, bro, you can do whatever you want. Like that's the way I look at it. If you're willing to pay X amount of dollar for something, great. So 1967 Targa, this is the one with the soft back window, short wheelbase car. If you didn't know this, early Targas actually didn't have glass in the back window. It actually only had the roll bar hoop in it and had a plastic window in the back where you could actually put that plastic down and you could have the Targa roof, so you could almost have a full open air experience. A little history behind that. We've talked about it in a prior podcast, but to bring you back up to speed, the reason why they did that is they were afraid that the U.S. was going to ban convertible cars forever. So Porsche's a way around this was build a roll bar into the car. Voila, Targa was born. That's kind of the story in a nutshell, Cliff Notes version of how a Targa shows up. So that's what this is. Now, where I was going with that is this car recently sold for $450,000 on an auction site. Holy shit.
It's a pretty big number. What did you see any numbers beforehand, what they were going for? Did you look?
I did not, but
I don't think it was $450,000.
What I understand, this is about and I'm not saying this particular car. I'm just saying the car in that general area. That's about $150,000 to $180,000 car if it's concourse level, maybe $180,000, maybe $200,000 tops. This thing did $450,000.
Yep, 2012's back. We're about to raise them all up again.
People's got their stacked up pandemic money. I don't know. They must have got their stimulus check.
Stimulus coming on strong with that.
But I just wanted to throw that out as a reference point because that isn't just that. It's all Porsches. For example, 996s are all basically six-figure cars now. Just 12 months ago, you could scoop one of these up in the 70s.
No.
If you were paying 90, it was probably had 2,000 miles on it. Now, you really can't even find one for 90. There's some out there in the 70s still, but those are little higher mileage cars, maybe 50, 60,000 miles, you know, something like that. But anything 20,000 miles and less, I mean, they're going for like $100,000. And I'm not saying that's not a $100,000 car.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to knock that, but what I'm just trying to give people out there is what's happening like in the Porsche market. So, you know, like Aaron said, like, was it okay? I mean, not even 2012, but
it was about then when this stuff started
getting like crazy, like
200-300%. That's when that was the
okay.
very
So 12, 13, that's when you saw, you know, long hood cars that used to sell for like 30,000, maybe tops, going for 130,000, whatever, something like that.
We'll see. There's another bubble. I mean, because it kind of everybody felt like it kind of settled a little bit. Now
it's on the
it's on the rise again.
Yeah, well,
for certain things,
it's not. Maybe it is like 100%. Like there, and like you said, for certain things, yes, like that car I mentioned. But again, it is really quirky because it's hard to pin down because there's certain things out there. Like we saw an SC go for sale for $100 grand. Now, you know, it was redone. You know, it was pretty nice, but is that a $100,000 car? Come on.
To that person it was.
Granted, and again, I'm not arguing that, but I'm just trying to bring the listeners into the light if they're in the dark about this right now, about what's actually happening out there. And that's why I claimed it that pandemic Porsche pricing. Now, deals can still be found. They always can be. Even during those times before deals could be found. You just got to be ready to pull the trigger because sometimes people price to sell and it sells within 5 minutes. Yeah, actually minutes. When those things hit, they go out for minutes. Like I was telling him the other day, not that I was going to buy a GT3 RS, but I was looking at a 997 GT3 RS that I saw for sale, I think for $155, and it was in white, which is a really rare color. Yeah, that thing by the end of the day was not for sale anymore, and because that was a very aggressive pricing on that car. Probably 15% less than it would probably should have been going for, I think, what today's market's at on them. But anyways, what I'm getting at is if you're one of those people that have been sitting on the fence for a long time, and I'm not saying this because Aaron's sitting in front of me, and you're thinking about it, no time is better than the time now to go out and go buy your Porsche, whether that be air cooled, water cooled, it doesn't matter what it is, because like we talked about prior episodes, and I don't want to bring up and beat a dead horse, but even 996s. No, 996's C2s have even gone up. Yep. And I agree it's a great car, but they're not $40,000, $45,000 C2s. But that's what they're selling for now. For lower mileage C2s, you're seeing them sell for $40-something thousand.
It's the new price.
And just 12 months ago, I mean, and that's not that long ago, just 12 months ago, even a little bit more, 18 months ago, a year and a half ago, you could pick these up in the low 20s all day long for a nice one. And you could bag a speed yellow one for like 25 grand 18 months ago. Now you're paying 45,000 for one. Insane. And I'm not saying this to crush anybody's dreams who hasn't bought one that was on the fence. What I'm trying to do is get you off of the fence. If you're thinking these prices are going to go down, they're not. They're going to keep going up.
That's true. I mean, any of the pricing that's happened, it's not really reversed itself in any way across the board.
No,
all the models.
None of these have fallen flat. There hasn't been some residual flat line where these things just start to like plummet. These aren't like some like bullshit like cryptocurrency where it's like super high for a year and then all of a sudden it's in the basement next year. Like this is not happening. Like they may stop going up rapidly.
Yeah, they might,
but they're going to hold. It's going to hold, and then it will go back up again. Like so, my word of advice to everybody out there that's thinking about buying a water cooled, air cooled, if you don't wait for it. If you can't afford it now, I get it. If you're saving up for it and you want to make it happen in the future, that's all understandable for financial reasons. But if you have the funds and you're just sitting with your funds waiting for something to basically have a huge dip and you think that there's going to be a market bubble that pops and all these things are going to go back down into whatever affordable range you think they're going to go, that's not going to happen.
If you need to spend your $450,000, we can help you spend it a little bit better than this Targa.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's probably collector who bought that car for sure. And it's probably a piece to finish a $30 million collection. It already existed.
Collection. He's that guy.
No, it's not a Target collection. Smart ass. Like it's just like it was probably like he needed a 67.
He's the Magnus of Targas, and he's got all he needs. I need this one. This is the last one.
It's the last Targa, man. Last Targa, bro.
You'll never see another one.
Never gonna get this one. If you want it, you got to buy this one from me. But in all seriousness, I wish it wasn't like the market the way it was because I'm an avid, obviously, Porsche owner and want to buy more Porsches.
It's still beneficial for you as if you own one now currently.
It is, but I think it's back to that same thing where like the housing market, right? Like when everybody has a house and like it's water cooler talk where somebody's like, "Well, I bought my house for $350 and now it's worth $650." Okay, that's great. You love living in your area, right? And you love everything in it. So what's the point? And if you did sell that house to buy another house in that same area, would cost you $650. So now you're just taking on more mortgage. The same principle here lies within Porsche if you're a Porsche fan, because if you go and sell one, even if you got in at a low number, Well, the next one you buy, because where we're at right now, is going to be a high level. So now you're paying up on the next one regardless. So you're going to pay the piper eventually.
Paying somebody.
Yeah. So the only way you get out of this is not buy another one. But we're Porsche people. We're going to keep buying them. So
nobody ever tells you that you're going to buy more than one.
Yeah.
You just kind of get in the fold. And
I think we try to tell people that, but I don't think it really resonates with you until you become a Porsche owner. And then once you become a Porsche owner, you realize how much of a psycho you become. And then you're like, I got to get another one.
There's a difference in experience. And you can't say that for a lot of cars. I mean, it's a big change from an air-cooled to the water-cooled side. It was just that much. And then everything in between before that, as far as chassis go.
Yeah. And to close with this, we used to be able to tell you the safe money and where to park cars and hey, this is where the money's at. Right now, I don't know where it's at because it's all over the place because everything's expensive. Even 996 regular turbos are through the roof. Everything's expensive. It doesn't matter what it is. It's expensive.
Everything seems to be bringing some money.
Because the dealerships are smart. We've seen them on IG, and I'm sure you guys have too. They're buying the modern stuff. They're like, hey, you see wanted ads. Hey, you have a 997 C2 manual in good condition? Call me. I'm buying your car. All of them. You got 3 of them, I'll buy all of them from you. Because these guys are all stacking up because they're getting ready for the wave too because they know these cars are going up like tenfold. So if you can get your mitts on one, get one. Get off the fence, get into the game, buy one. Don't be waiting for that day for this barn find deal that's never coming and be that guy who's walking around. And we've all seen the Pablo Escobar memes of like the guy standing in the pool, like just waiting for parts, like sitting on the swing by himself. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy or girl. Get in the game. It doesn't matter what it is at this point. Buy you something and get in there because it really is. It's like basically the only thing. While I'm yammering here, it's come to mind that's actually affordable. At this point, and I say affordable very loosely, is something in the convertible range, basically, because that's still.
Yeah, I guess.
And I say true. Like 996, 997 convertibles. Like even like if you really got to have an air cooled car, you're probably your most affordable bet in an air cooled car right now is going to be a convertible car. And granted, they're not really designed to do track duty. But it's not impossible to do track stuff with a convertible, but you're still going to enjoy all the stuff with a convertible. You're still going to enjoy all the air-cooled stuff with a convertible.
Still get the sounds.
So, and I'm not making a sell for a convertible because I don't have one, so I don't benefit from like trying to get you guys to buy one. But I'm saying if you're just trying to help anybody who's maybe like, well, I really want an air-cooled, I really want this, but the coupe is way too much. Don't
keep your options open.
Yeah, don't turn your eyes at a convertible. Maybe that's where you maybe need to be at. Just so you can be a player.
You could always drive it and then look for a coupe later on, and then
Yeah, and again, I think that's still safe money. Like we always talk about parking money. Like say you go spend 45, 50 grand on an air cooled convertible. Well, it's still probably going to be worth 45 or 50 grand if you drive it for 2 years. And if you drive it and then you continue to save up and you have fun for a little bit, and you're ready to bump up to that 70 range to get whatever you really wanted, and you saved up, now you have collateral, right, in that car. So you could either sell it, trade it, whatever you need to do with it, but at least you've been enjoying those last 24 months in something. Because it's always, we've talked about this, we've had a lot of friends that always say, it's like, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, the talk is cheap, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people talk. I think if you make a move on something, it almost kind of forces you have an inanimate object, right? Now you have a movable force. Now you have a convertible sitting in your garage. All right, you're going to do something with it. You got to drive it. You're not just talking about dreams of what you're going to end up buying with like this imaginary money that's in your bank account. So you got to do something with it. Now drive it. Okay, you're going to meet other people. You're going to see other cars. You may get a deal from somebody that never goes for sale to say, hey, man, I got an SC. I know you always wanted a coupe or whatever. I'm going to sell it for 50 grand. You're like, I'm going to go sell my convertible now. Now I'm buying a car that was never even for sale because you're driving around.
I'm on a Euro Carrera right now.
Yeah, exactly. Better come with
5 hours to make it happen.
Yeah, you better come with 6 zeros. But enough said with that. So you guys got the update on that. Pandemic Porsche pricing is a real thing. It's happening on every auction site. It's happening in the real deal world as far as even cars selling at dealerships and all of these boutique dealers. And don't think these prices just because when you see them, you're like, oh my God, that's what they're asking, but that's not what they're paying. People are paying this shit for them. You're seeing closing pricing on these cars, and a lot of these places can't keep inventory, honestly. They're selling them so fast. You would think these cars are so expensive. People are like, there's no way in hell anybody's going to buy that car. Gone the next day. And you're like, shit, I was wrong. And then you say that same thing again when they have another one to come in. You're like, no one's going to buy that car at that price. Shit, that car's gone too. Somebody's buying them.
Yeah, that's true.
Somebody's buying them. Anyways, you guys have a great one. We will talk to you guys soon. Have a great one.
That's it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of PCar Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at PCar Talk or online at PCarTalk.com.